update. This shouldn't be really new information for anybody in this room, but I do want to get it out there. But it takes 7 times to share information before it sinks in. So I do want the public to really get a good handle on where we are with our facilities. And we met as a district facilities committee back in May, and I'm going to kind of share with everybody here again what we talked about at that meeting, and then some updates on what we've done this summer, and kind of what we were talking about before of what we have upcoming in the next few years. So, again, we have a committee. It's made up of a number of staff members, parents, community members. We met back in May and kind of went through the whole plan. Start with the former teacher. I start with the history of where we were in this district. So if you go to the next slide for us. The first school that this year, independent from Middletown, was the 2000-2001 school year. At that time, there was Monroe Elementary. It was a K-6 building, built in 54 with the addition of 1966. That's the current primary building. And then there was Monroe High School, which was 712 at that time. And prior to that, junior high students had gone to, Tom, help me with this, which? Verity in Middletown. So when the district broke away, that building became 712 instead of just a high school. The new building we're sitting in was completed in 2004, built for a pre-K-12. Pre-K moved back to the primary building in 2007, and then 1 and 2 moved back in 2008. And then that is when I believe the very popular modular city behind the primary building was located. So that's when people loved that. The following year, second grade moved back to the main campus in 2012, and that is our current configuration since that. If you look at our enrollment history, again, there was 1,433 students when they broke away from Middletown, and then in 04 and 05, they've grown to 1,574. Our current enrollment is just under 3,000 students, 477 at the primary, 2380 at main campus. And as I've shared many times, but I want to get that out there again, this building was designed for 1,800 kids. So when I share that we're bursting, I'm not exaggerating. Currently, the primary, it's preschool, 4 sections, kindergarten and first grade both have 9 sections, 477 students. There is 1 module or 2 classrooms out there. They are not actual classrooms. I believe there's related services and counselors that are out there, but no actual homes. And then the elementary, which is we're in the elementary cafeteria right now. 9 sections at second and third, 8 sections at the 8, 4, 5, 6, 1,079 elementary students in this building. That is it's a very sizable elementary school. And then junior high, grade 7 and 8. This time I said grade 8, it'll be grade 9 this coming school year. Is the largest grade of the district with 256 students. Total enrollment is 499. Grades 9 through 12 at the high school. Grade 9, which will be this year, sophomores, will be the second largest. So as you see, there's we are growing, but there's a definite bubble at the high school. Next year, the 2 largest classes in the district will be 9th and 10th. Short-term projects. So this summer, we added a wall at the second floor. They call that the health room. It's right above the trainer's room. We divide that up into 2 classrooms to create some additional space. The training room is being repurposed. We actually, instead of putting a wall, we're just making it a flexible, so trainer's never in there during the day. So it'll be a classroom during the day, and then the trainer will use, especially in the fall, mostly the trainers are out in the field house. I'll have a small section in the back of the room during the day, or in the evenings during athletic activities. And then the high school junior high media center hadn't been used as an actual media center for a number of years prior to my arrival. this is the one I held out on the longest, but we really just needed the space. So we distributed a majority of the books to the teachers throughout the building, 712, and we're adding more classroom space in the junior high school media center. And then Main Street, there, the main hallway that everyone calls Main Street, we are adding flexible seating there. There'll be overflow for the cafeteria, so they don't have to eat on the bleachers. There's just a quick update. If you can see the upper left, drywall went up today, so that is the wall that separates the, I'm standing in one half and I took that picture. You can see through the door to the other half. Upper right, that's the trainer's room. They redid the flooring in there, so it'll be a respectable classroom. And then there's two pictures of the library at the bottom. You can see studs are up, the drywall. Started the drywall, and then we have insulation going in. That was taken earlier today, so my guess is if you walk down there now, there'd probably be more up. But it's coming along nicely. There's no worry of it not being completed prior to arrival of students. Short-term projects, these are things that we've been talking about. Again, obviously, to build some sort of structure, field house, to move some of our athletic facilities that are currently in the building out to that space, and then repurpose those areas to additional classroom spaces. Because again, that is our, that's our number one priority, is academics for our kids and making more academic space for them. And then there is, we have talked about it, about the junior high gym that was designed to actually make 8 classrooms, 4 on the first floor and the second. If we did the second, that would be adding square footage, and I've talked about that. We don't want to take away from the master projects on there. So if we can get it approved through ELF, we would have 4 classrooms on the first floor and wait until the next phase of the construction to see if there's the need for the additional floor. So the goal would be hopefully to start those projects soon, so they would be ready for hopefully next school year or soon after. But then obviously our ultimate goal is a new school building. I think that's everybody's goal, but I want to go through this real quick so everybody knows the timeline of when that is. So go to the next one for me. So how do we fund a new building? Obviously, that's the big question there. So there's 3 options that we could pay for the building with current school funds, and even though we have a nice cash balance, that's not a realistic solution for us or for really any public school district. Go to the community to pass a bond issue to pay for the construction of a new facility. Or if you are eligible to partner with the state through the OFCC funding to pay for partial costs, and then go to the public for a bond issue for the remaining funds. And right now, where we are sitting is we are close to the OFCC funding. If you remember back in 2017, we thought our number was up, and the state pulled back because they had overpromised funds. So we went back on the waiting list, and we're hoping that we're about 2 years out from receiving that money. The OFCC commission was a result of the high school funding system being ruled unconstitutional back in '97. My first year teaching, that's how long ago that was, and they still haven't fixed the school funding in the state of Vermont. But what they did is they ranked all the school districts based on their proper evaluation and income, and they used a formula. And when you talk to the Ohio Department of Education about any kind of funding formula, no one can ever figure it out. But they reevaluated every annually, and back when I believe the project was going to be done in 2016, 17, it was 49%. 49%. We are now, if you want to go to the next slide, our last, real quickly, so it was offered to the district those 2 times in 12 and 13. Financially, it wasn't a good opportunity for the district, as well as at that time it was not a huge overcrowding issue. ready to go, and the state pulled it, and so then we have most recently applied for help to OFCC. And I'll explain that here in a second. The OFCC, I said, does an annual review. It was 49% back in 17. Currently, we sit at 71% state funding on a new project, which is extremely high. To be honest, it would be irresponsible of us not to go into partnership with the school or the state of Ohio to receive that funding and not put all that on the local taxpayers. So we applied for ELF, which means that would lock that rate in because it's been steadily climbing, but it's starting to slow down. And the last thing we wanted to do is in a year when they do a reevaluation for that percentage to drop. So if they lock that in, then they will not, it'll be set at that 71%, which is a very good thing. So we are proceeding with some of the short-term projects right now. And as we get closer, as I've met with architects over the summer the different architects to talk about, where we are and everything going, at some point we need to go out to the community and gather information from the public. If you look the last time, when it was, they did a survey between elementary, high school, and a junior high. The junior high was lower, but elementary and high school was pretty close. We at least need to revisit that with the public. I think enough time passed, we just have to go out and get that information before we proceed. It doesn't really, like I've shared all along, it doesn't matter what our thoughts are, what we think we need, it's what the community is going to support. And there's positives and negatives to both of those. So when we get that information, gather that information, we will, then we'll proceed with those plans. I have talked with the architects about getting information about that, and their advice to us, with their expertise in dealing with many, many districts, is if you get out and do that too far ahead of the project, you lose. It gets the community excited and it gets them on board, and then if you keep waiting and waiting and waiting, your momentum tends to tail off. And so, as we are eligible for help, that means we are a minimum of 2 years out from that. So, we're going to continue to look at things. We're going to continue to look at ways to expand our current situation. But as we get notification that we are inside that 2-year window, that's when we really need to ramp up getting that information and really get that out to the community. Because once our number is full, I believe we have 13 months to pass a bond issue to get our local share of whatever the new project is. Fortunately, that gives us some time to, I know Butler Tech has been a little bit more fortunate because they have this project going and they did a lot of pre-ordering before a lot of the I don't know what the right word is for it, but all the huge inflation with construction costs and delay in materials. I know Franklin, who's our neighbors, they're in the middle of construction and they have run into some serious issues in pricing and availability of materials. So one advantage of not being eligible for a couple of years is hopefully in a couple of years the construction world will settle out, so to speak. I don't know what costs at that time will be, but at least maybe availability of materials.
They're saying roughly from our manufacturers that we deal with, end of 23, beginning of 24 is when the supply chain issues should reach somewhat normalcy. That's what they're predicting now.
Again, I just wanted to, I know as we talk about our space issue and looking at things, and everybody's ready to go. I mean, I'm ready. Like if the state called us tomorrow and said, let's build a building, I think everybody in this community would jump on board and embrace that. And actually, when I shared similar information at the joint meeting with the city council, we get people comment that let's not wait for the state. Let's go ahead and put a bond issue and build it ourselves. Well, I mean, that is, when you look at whether you want to enter into the OFCC project, kind of there are disadvantages to state funding because there are certain regulations that you have to follow. So, that's one disadvantage, but if it was, we were only getting 30% or 20%, maybe that's something where we need to look at it as a community and say, is it worth it to go through what they're gonna make us go through to get it? But when it's 71%
Tough to look
funding,
the other way.
you can't ignore that. And like I said, I think it'd be irresponsible of the school district to ignore that. And so, like I said, we are going to continue to move forward with some of the short-term projects to alleviate space. I know the junior high and high school is, they're excited about our new spaces just to help alleviate some of the classroom space. So the kids are, have a lot more, everybody's got a classroom, which is a nice thing. So we will continue to look at creative ways to make space, and I will keep you guys updated as we move forward. So does anybody have any questions?
No, just a statement. I mean, I know the state, we gotta wait. Also, part of this process is to wait for their enrollment numbers, which we hope they change, the 10 that we're gonna grow by in the next.
So, yes, they do enrollment projection for 10 years out, and unfortunately, they use only live birth data, which is not a true measure of Monroe because we have a lot of move-ins that bring children in. So there is a way to appeal their enrollment projections, and we have lots and lots of annual data with annual trends to back up our appeal when we get to that process.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good update.
One other thing with construction this summer, I shared with some of the small projects. Another one, the main gym floor was going to be refinished for right before school started. It was actually going to bleed into about the first week of school. We knew that, but as with everything in construction, it's been delayed. So Mr. Silverman, Mr. Prohaska, Mr. Stanger, and I put our heads together and we looked at the options. One option was to put it off and be first in line next summer to get it refinished, or to look in between volleyball and basketball season, or after the winter sports are over. The spring season doesn't really make sense because there's not a lot going on in the gym. We might as well wait until then. And in the spring, if PE classes need to go outside, you know how the spring weather is. That's pretty unpredictable. So we actually called the PE teachers and said, here are options. And they said, it can't wait. It needs done. It's long past due. We will make it work. So right now the schedule is for September 26th. So that is the tail end of volleyball. He's rescheduled some of the last few home games for volleyball. They'll still be able to use the elementary for practice, and it runs into the beginning of basketball season. So it won't be too disruptive to the student athletes, but it will, for the winter season, they will have the floor refinished.
So the only thing it will really affect for winter sports is the prepping.
The practices,
Practice
at the beginning,
leading up to the season.
and not even that much of it.
Okay.
To be honest, a few days.
It will be the Monday after the homecoming dance, so that won't impact us, and I won't worry about field game on the floor for the only time ever. And then, the way it would end, if it stays on schedule, the first 2 days of tryouts for girls basketball would have to be in the elementary gym, which is not a problem, because it's at high school and junior high. The boys won't start the following week.
Okay.
So we'll be able to make all that work
What's the contingency on that though, if we get into a position where we're in process, but something holds us up at that point where do we have a contingency, or is it just, we got one gym to?
If we're starting September 26th, I believe the first actual game is until November 19th. So I think, worst case scenario, they would have to use just the elementary gym for practice.
Do we have alternate options at adjoining schools or facilities? If just
We would
worst
probably,
case scenario.
we'd probably reach out to, we already talked about, if, like, another option we talked about was like, if we did it over winter break and then just scheduled all practices and games during that time at maybe Miami Middletown or Miami Hamilton, and, we have connections at both places that if for some reason we had to do that, we could, look into space there, to get us.
How much time does it take to refurbish?
So the actual refinishing takes about two to 3 weeks, and then another week just
To let it cure.
to stay off of it. So it's about a month process.
How often do we do that?
It's supposed to be done about every 10 to 12 years, and it's never been done here. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Wow.
So the plan was this summer the main gym, next summer the elementary.
Can we be first in line in the summer for the elementary gym?
Yes, that's definitely something we can try to get on their schedule and hopefully.
Does this count towards our ELF fund? Is this part of our the money that we need to
The main
spend?
one, no, just because we
improvement
still haven't
funds.
received final approval on it yet, but hopefully the elementary will.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is that it?
Yes.
All right, thank you.